You are tuned in to Making a Difference with Melissa Billy Clark. This show shares compelling stories and experiences of well-known faces and everyday people who change the world in big and small ways. Get ready to open your mind and your heart with Melissa Billy Clark.
Hi, thank you for joining us on Making a Difference. I'm your host, Melissa Billy Clark. We have a special guest, and by special, I mean a fellow Brooklynite, but amongst his native roots, this man has been in broadcasting for over 2 decades. You may fondly remember him on the Imus in the morning show as their sports reporter. He is an author, an actor, a husband, a father, and has a talk show, Bernie and Sid in the Morning, which you can watch weekdays from 6 a.m. until 10 a.m. on 77 WABC radio. Sid Rosenberg, I'm so thrilled to have you on Making a Difference. Thank you so much, sir. I know that you're so busy. Thank you.
No, it's my pleasure. I am busy. I get up at 3:30 a.m. local time every morning to make sure I can host that radio show most of the time with Bernie. He's been sick the last couple of months, or sometimes without him, like today. So I'm up early in the morning, but 6 to 10. But I'm thrilled to do this today, and I'm humbled you invited me. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Sid Rosenberg. I'm so excited to get to know you. How is Bernie feeling?
Well, it depends on the week. You know, he's a very, very tough guy. I know that because back in 2003, I can't believe it's 19 years ago already, we held a charity fight on television, viewed all over the world, mind you, at Chelsea Piers. And Imus that day raised $250,000 for kids with cancer. And Bernie beat the living daylights out of me. I mean, he killed me. Now, look, I'm in much better shape now and he's older, but he's a very, very tough guy. And he shows up after his chemotherapy and radiation and does a great radio show. But he said, you know, he misses now about 1 week a month for the last 6 months. And I can tell some days he's weak. You can tell in his voice. And he's not a baby. So tough guy. If I had a bet on him to make it, I would bet he would make it. But I'm nervous, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. Cancer is definitely very tricky. And I'm sure he appreciates you holding the fort and being, you know, the voice of New York. So we're sending prayers out to Bernie, and we're so happy to have you, you both on this show. I mean, you guys took over Imus in the morning. Is that correct? After Imus passed away?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I came back from Florida in 2016 to host a midday show. Imus was still on the air then. Me and Bernie replaced a guy named Geraldo Rivera in the midday show. And then about 2018, about 2 years later, WABC and Imus, they grew apart. That was it. Imus was making a lot of money. He was not getting great ratings anymore. He was getting older. They saw an opportunity for 2 younger guys with some zest that could also pay a lot less, let's be honest, in me and Bernie to take over the morning show. And we did. And we've had great success in the 4 years that we've done that. In fact, even more rating success than Imus ever had. Right now, we're the #1 Nielsen-rated news talk show in New York City. That's quite an accomplishment for a station that was not getting ratings just a couple of years ago. So we'll always love Don. He passed away 2 years ago in December. Bernie worked for Imus for the better part of 30 years. I worked on and off for Imus for the better part of 18 years. Both of us kind of made our bones and our careers with Imus. We'll always appreciate that. But right now, it's our time.
Yeah, congratulations. That's right. We all need our time to shine and to create new ideas. So thank you so much. Now, anyone that listens to you knows that you are very outspoken and you speak the truth. Let's be honest. And, you know, you have that brutally honest New York style about you. But I love that about people. I'm going to be honest. I grew up with 2 New York parents, one from Brooklyn, one from Manhattan. So I appreciate your honesty. I wanted to have you on to dive further into specific topics. So I'm just going to throw a few at you, if that's okay. Thank you so much, because your perspective means everything. You have so many listeners. So thank you so much again. Individuals speaking the truth and not being afraid of cancel culture. Why is it so important that we respectfully say what we feel?
I'm not even sure I say it respectfully. I think sometimes I'm downright nasty because I just don't care. Look, it's very simple. When I worked for big radio stations like WFAN, they were run by CBS and Entercom. I probably couldn't say the things I say now. There is a huge advantage for working for a man. John Catsimatidis a multi-billionaire. That's the truth. It's not exaggeration. That's who he is. He owns oil companies. He owns all the Gristidis and D'Agostinos here in New York City. And now he owns this radio station. He's a huge success, a Greek immigrant. And he wants us to go on and say what we want. He doesn't have to worry that Nike is going to come and cause a big deal, or Diet Pepsi or Coca-Cola. My sponsors I've had for many, many, many years. They spend a lot of money. My show does very, very well revenue-wise, and they're not going to jump off the ship if, in fact, I say something they don't agree with. So I think the reason why I get to say what I say, and Bernie for that matter, is because we've got a single proprietor owner in John Catsimatidis who likes it when we voice our opinion. And if it's, up against the tide, that's fine. Don't forget, Melissa, there's 12 million people in New York. So if 8 million are Democrats, there are still 4 million people that are Republicans and appreciate Donald Trump and don't like what's going on in this city, in this state, and this country. And if we can get every one of those 4 million people, we'll be no less than Howard Stern in the radio history department.
It's very, very true. Now, do you think that this Johnny Depp case had an impact on cancel culture? And as he said, he felt guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, look, I know it was kind of a win for all men that have been falsely accused. I mean, even Alan Dershowitz, who is a constitutional scholar, this guy's a brilliant attorney, been involved in some of the biggest cases ever. He was watching this closely because, don't forget, he was accused in the Jeffrey Epstein case of having sex with a minor. And so he was actually happy that Johnny Depp won because, as he said, this is a win for men who are falsely accused. But listen, accused, I should say, but don't kid yourself. The truth of the matter is most of us still believe, as we should, the overwhelming majority of women who claim these things happen. That doesn't change here. It's a nice little payday for Johnny Depp. It's a nice day for men for one day, but I don't think the whole culture changes with that. What I think you're saying, above and beyond Johnny Depp, is the country starting to get sick and tired of what's going on here. Listen, I have friends who are gay. Bernie and I have people on the show that are gay. Fantastic. God bless them. I don't care whether you're a heterosexual or homosexual, but the idea of having a full month to celebrate Pride is really insulting. I mean, what for what? Because your sexual preference that makes you a hero. And I understand they've gone through a lot of hell and still do, especially transgenders. I get all that. Jews have gone through hell. Blacks have gone through hell. Christians have gone through hell. The idea that we continue to celebrate people based upon their sexual preference or their gender or their color, that's the problem with this country. We got to stop doing that. It's a merit-based. If you do something great, we'll celebrate you. If not, you're like everybody else. And I think the Johnny Depp case will go down just like that.
Yeah, totally. And thank you so much for a man's perspective on that. Let's discuss our school systems. Here in New York, they started entertaining or even bringing books in called I Am Not a Girl, which is a little girl looking in a mirror at herself as a boy. The ages for this book is 3 to 6. Now, what's your thoughts on this, please?
Well, I think it's disgusting. I think it's abuse. I think it's child abuse, and Ron DeSantis has the right idea down in Florida. He's got the Parental Act. Now, what did the Democrats do in the media? They labeled that the Don't Say Gay bill. There's nothing in that bill down in Florida from Ron DeSantis that even mentions the word gay. Nothing. His point is, I don't want a teacher teaching my child about sex, and he's right. I don't either. That onus is on the mom and the dad. If the mom and the dad don't do it, well, then that's the way it's going to be. I don't want some strange kid with blue hair and an earring telling my kids about homosexual and or heterosexual sex. It's disgusting. Ron DeSantis is right. Here in New York and in New Jersey, where they allow that type of stuff and make an argument for it, it's just not right. To me, it's child abuse. So congratulations to the governor of Florida. Shame on everybody else.
Yeah, I agree with you. And this is coming from a father. You have a 17-year-old and a 13-year-old. So imagine parents who have 5-year-olds and they're coming home with this book. They're like sponges.
Melissa, I don't even want them talking to my 18-year-old daughter. She's on her way to college about sex and teachers. And I couldn't imagine when they were little babies, Ava and Gabriel being taught that. It's just not right, And for example, we had Tom Suozzi on the show a couple of weeks ago. He's running for governor. He's a Democrat. He's up against Kathy Hochul and Jumaane Williams. And he came on with me and Bernard. He said, I got to tell you, I don't disagree with Ron DeSantis' bill. It is actually, it's right. Teachers should not be teaching kids about sex. And about 3 days later, I guess one of his big donors, some big Democrat, went after him. And there was an article in a local newspaper that Tom Suozzi really had the balls to agree with Bernie and Sid, and then he took it back. He said, you know what? I was inartful in my statement to Sid and Bernie. Maybe I didn't really mean that. So I called him up on his cell phone. I said, let me tell you something, you son of a bitch. What you did was right. What you did was right. But now you've proven to be a coward, like every other Democrat politician. And now, by reversing your decision, you've proven to be no different than Joe Biden, who at one point wanted closed borders. Now he wants open borders. At one point wanted to stop crime. Now he doesn't care. You're one of those people now. So congratulations. By the way, he's never allowed back on the Bernie and Sid in the Morning Show.
What about the mayor? I mean, crime is even up and it's happening during daylight. Like nobody has to, they don't care anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the subways, the subways are a huge issue, Melissa. He wants people to come back to New York and go to work. I mean, we had a guy just last Sunday who was going to brunch and he was shot in the face and murdered, shot in the chest, I should say. Listen, it's not just shootings. There are people being thrown in front of moving subways. There are knife attacks. There are rapes, people throwing pieces in the faces of people in the subway. And it's just one excuse after the other. I mean, look, these are the facts, okay? Until we have an adult conversation as to one community, I should say, who's 13% of the population, commits 58% of the crimes, until we have that conversation and figure out why it's really the case and stop blaming white people and white supremacy and politicians and all that nonsense, until they start taking accountability in their own community, this is never going to change. Eric Adams knows that. Charles Barkley has made those comments. Plenty of African-American people know the truth, which is, hey, there's no dad at home. There's no aspirations. We're very, very happy getting money from the government, smoking weed and watching cartoons. And why should we change? And unfortunately, that is a lot of the culture, along with the music and the violence and the way they dress. It's all bad. And it lends to this culture that lends to crime in New York City. And until we have that conversation, we're going to lie to the people, talk about white supremacy. Look, that kid in Buffalo, it was disgusting. The kid in Uvalde, Texas, he wasn't even white. He was Latino. And for all the mass shootings, which, by the way, now 3 people get killed in some mass shootings, 30 people get killed every weekend in Chicago. And it's black people shooting black people. Let's have that discussion. Or Philadelphia, black people shooting black people. They want to spend 6 days talking about one guy who killed a bunch of kids. It was horrible. I've got kids. I cried for days. But that's not the real issue in this country. There is no white supremacy issue in this country. There's an issue with crime and allowing criminals who commit crimes to go back on the street in 15 minutes.
What's your one recommendation for New York City right now, just to calm things down a little bit?
Well, you got to get more cops out on there. That's the first thing. You cannot limit the cops and how they do their jobs. No chokeholds, no this, no that. I don't want to hear it. They got to do whatever it takes physically to make sure that they get these perps and take them down to the ground. But the most important thing is bail reform. I mean, that's what it comes down to. That's not Eric Adams' job. I get it. That goes back to legislators in Albany, people like Andrew Stewart Cousins, Carl Heastie, Kathy Hochul, until they figure out a way where they come to the realization that, oh my God, criminals should not be allowed to go back on the street after 15 minutes. Nothing's going to get better. You can add more cops. You can make more arrests. Could you imagine how tough it is for these cops? How disheartened they must be when they go out and arrest somebody who's got 19 priors and the cops see the same guy at the same subway stop the next morning. These cops don't even want to do their job. I don't blame them. They can't do anything right. Everybody hates them. Everybody, demeans them. Everybody talks badly about them. And at the end of the day, when they do make a good arrest, that perp is back on the street in 15 minutes. So until bail reform is fixed, until these Democrat officials come to the realization that keeping criminals in jail is a good thing, nothing's going to change.
Yeah. Let's discuss what's happening worldwide. Gas prices. You think New York's going to go up like some cities in LA? It's up to almost $10.
I don't think it'll be as bad as Los Angeles, but it's bad. And you've got Joe Biden yucking up with Jimmy Kimmel last night. I mean, come on. The country is a complete mess. It really is. So let's not. Listen, I've got a nice life. I'm going to watch the Rangers tonight. I'm going to go to the beach today. I've got a beautiful family. I just bought a new home. I've got a nice life. I can't complain all that much. But the truth is, a lot of this country is really struggling. They can't afford to put gas in their car. They can't afford to put food on their table, meats and produce now going through the roof, the ceiling. And it's Biden's fault. And he stands there and he talks about Donald Trump did this. Trump's been gone for 2 years, by the way. And Putin did this. That war in Ukraine has nothing to do with what's going on here. And COVID did this. That's been gone COVID for 2 years. At some point, Joe Biden and his administration, the worst, by the way, in my lifetime, by far, worse than Jimmy Carter, has to be accountable. He did this. What did he do? Why did he do this, Whoopi Goldberg? Tell you what he did. He shut down the Keystone Pipeline for starters. That right there made us energy efficient. Besides the millions and millions of dollars in jobs, tons of jobs that are provided to Americans, that was part of the reason why we were so energy efficient under Donald Trump. We didn't need to buy tons and tons of oil from Russia or God knows what countries now, Iran, who knows? So he did that. He decided whatever Donald Trump did, I'm going to do the opposite, even if it worked. Even if it worked, because he's a nasty, nasty baby. So he's reversed all the things Donald Trump did, which were great, and now we've got ourselves in a big mess. Gas prices go right back to this administration. It's not Trump. It's not that war in Ukraine. It's not COVID. It's this administration's decision to shut down pipelines in this country, which makes us energy efficient and saves us tons of money on oil and gas.
Yeah. Incredible. Incredible. So thank you so much for all of this. I know you've been talking for 4 hours this morning, and please, I urge you to please listen to this man on Bernie and Sid in the morning, weekdays from 6 to 10. Let's get over to you. You are an author and an actor, and we're going to get into that in a moment, but you have 2 books, which I love so much. One title is You're Wrong and You're Ugly. You know, it reminds me of my brother-in-law. He used to say, you're ugly and your mother dresses you funny. You ever hear that saying growing? So thank you for that. That's really nice. And then you have a new book too, Citizens United, which actually you can get right now. You can pre-order it.
Yes, you can. You can go to Amazon right now. Thank you for that, Melissa. My other book is 12 years old. I wrote it back in 2010. Triumph was the publisher. They're the biggest sports publisher in the country out of Chicago. But to be honest, when I wrote the book, I was out of work at that time, in between another Miami radio station. I was still not back in New York, so it never really got the attention it may have gotten if I was back here. I sold some books, but certainly didn't have lines outside of Barnes and Noble on Fifth Avenue. This is a completely different story. This is a Post Hill Press / Simon & Schuster book. I've got some real big-time book people, Anthony Zaccardi, Ian Kleinert on the job. Most recently, Miranda Devine, the great New York Post columnist. Her book came out. It's a #1 bestseller about Hunter Biden. She's with the same publisher. Adam Carolla's book is coming out next month. He's with the same publisher, Bobby Valentine. So they get some really big guys here. And now they've got my book. And it's a fun book in that a lot goes back to the relationship I had with my dad. Today, ironically, as we mentioned before we came on the air, Melissa, is my father's birthday, June 9th. Yeah. I was very close to my father. He choked up. And he died 2 years ago, and I'm not over it. I'm not doing well. It's when a tough guy like me becomes, like a little kid. I miss my father a lot, and I'm having all this great success, more than I've ever had in my life, and he's not here to share it with me. But there's a lot of great stories in the book about me and my dad, and how that transformed me into the father that I am with my daughter Ava and my son Gabriel. There's personal stories about my mother too, and my wife. And then there's all the opinion stuff. My opinion about Donald Trump, if we won again in 2024, and how we did it first time around, and Joe Biden and Eric Adams and Bill de Blasio, and even opinions on Bravo TV, The Real Housewives. I'm a Real Housewives junkie, and sports as well, like Tom Brady. So it's a fun read. I think people will like it. You can order it right now at Amazon.com. It'll be in bookstores August the 6th, and at least preliminarily, we're looking at 3 different states to do book signings and tours, including New York, New Jersey, and Florida. So I'm very excited about the book. Thank you for bringing it up.
That's so nice. And, you know, we always discuss on this program, as I told you, I lost both of my parents. So I have spiritual people come on, and I believe that, you know, death is just a walk in the other room. And it's so hard when they're not here. And just, you know, your success, he sees all this. You know, do you have a relationship with him still spiritually? Do you talk to him?
I do. You know, I live by the beach now, and I'll go to the beach and I'll say, hey, Pop, I did this today. I did sing happy birthday to him, to be honest. I felt a little silly. Somebody saw me do it. There was nobody standing next to me. But I do stuff like that. I'm not an overly spiritual guy, I have to be honest, nor am I overly religious. I'm Jewish, and I get bar mitzvah, and, you know, we've got some Yiddishkeit in my house, but I'm not the type of guy to wrap tefillin every day or go to shul for Shabbat. It's just not me. My dad was like that. But I am a spiritual guy to a certain extent, not as much as you, Melissa. I'm kind of jealous about that. But yes, I do talk to my dad every once in a while, and I did sing him happy birthday today.
Yeah, well, he heard it. I can definitely tell you that. Yeah, it's beautiful. And I'm glad that you're by the ocean now, because now you can, I love talking to Mother Ocean, and I actually offer her some fruit. That's what I do. And in return, she gives me so much. So,
You know, I'll tell you about the ocean. When I went down to Florida for rehab back in 2005, and they tell you that you need to find a higher power, and I had a lot of trouble with drinking and drugs and a whole bunch of stuff for many, many years. Thank God I'm sober and clean now, so my kids are seeing the best of me. But I had a lot of very, very rough years. And I always had an issue with God, My daughter does the same thing now. She's so cute. But I did it too. I'm like, there's no God. If there's a God, why would he allow planes to hit the World Trade Center? Why are little kids dying all over the world? And as I've gotten older and I've seen some things, including my father, there is certainly a God. They used to say to me, hey, listen, if you can't accept God, let God stand for group of drunks. That was the acronym. And that could be your God. So in the end, my higher power became the ocean. At the time I went to rehab in Florida, I was living in Boca Raton, and I would walk to the ocean and I would sit there and I'd look out at this vast body of water. And I'd say, man, all my problems that seem insurmountable, it seems to be so much. Look how small it is compared to that vast ocean, that vast world out there that we can't even see. And believe it or not, I know it sounds silly, but that got me through the day. So to be now at this stage of my life, 55 years old, and getting back to the ocean, it does provide that spiritual service that I need almost daily to get through the day.
Absolutely. And especially going through recovery, what advice do you give to people who are still struggling?
Look, I have fallen off so many times. I am not by any means the right guy to give that type of advice. But I will say that because I went to many meetings, AA, NA, you name it, GA, gambling problem too. I had sponsors. I did the book. I did the steps. I did everything. And none of it mattered. I remember speaking at an AA meeting in Boca, claiming I had 6 months and I had done cocaine 3 days before. And a lot of folks that I know were doing the same thing. So I think you just need to get to the point in your life. And I'm not knocking any of that stuff. Please don't get me wrong. You want 10 sponsors. You want to go to 30 meetings. God bless you. But my opinion is none of it matters until you've really decided to give it up. And I don't go to meetings all the time. I don't have a sponsor. And I can promise you that I'm not going to do a line of cocaine or drink because I'm just at that point in my life where I can't do it anymore. I can't embarrass my wife, my children. And I was able to do that, thank God, myself. Again, I don't recommend it for everybody, but until you come to the realization that this is no way to live and it's eventually going to do three things to you: drive you insane, put you in prison, or kill you, you will continue to do whatever you do, even with, I believe, some help. So just, if you're having issues right now, game over. It doesn't get better. It gets worse every time. Trust me. I started drinking wine instead of tequila. I did everything I could. Everything I could. I made $5 bets instead of $1,000 bets. I did everything I could to keep all my vices alive, and they got worse every time. You got to stop. That's the game.
I like that you, we're going to keep reiterating this, but going to the ocean is your meditation, and that can be your savior. And I always believe that we need a connection with something, whether it's God or Allah or this or that. We need a connection. And I remember when my mother was dying in my arms, God got me through that. So I got a tattoo. If God brings you, I showed you that if God brings you to it, he'll see you through it.
Oh, you know, it's funny. When I saw you Saturday, I saw the tattoo, and it's a long tattoo. I couldn't read all of it. I had no idea what it said. So
yeah, because it helped me through losing my mom. You know, I'm 42 years old and I have no parents, but what I have is God. He's my connection. I have my animals. You have the ocean. You have your beautiful wife and your children. So I'm going to continue on praying for you, and you got this, man. I know you do. And if people fall, they get right back up as long as you get back up. That's what I believe.
Well, I mean, as long as God gives you the opportunity, you know,
yes.
Yeah, because I remember the first time I went to rehab back in 1995, and I went to a place in Reading, Pennsylvania, Chit Chat Farms, the Karen Foundation. And when you leave, they give you a book, and people sign the book like you're leaving high school, like you just graduated, you know. And I can't tell you how many people who signed my book. I love you, Sid. Best of luck to you. Thank you. Now, this is 27 years later, but a lot of those people are dead. They didn't get a second chance. So eventually you run out of chances. Again, whether you go to prison or you die, you do run out of chances. So if you think, hey, I'm still young, I have the opportunity to, I'm telling you, just especially today, the drugs today, you got fentanyl and just about everything, whether it's marijuana, cocaine, heroin. You know, me, I never worried about that type of stuff. I worried about ODing, but I didn't worry if I did one line of cocaine, I was going to die. Today, you're going to die. I don't care if you're in great shape. You could be the best football player on the team. Look at the guys at West Point, Army, 6 of them, all OD'd from one line of cocaine. Wow. On a senior, on the when they went down to Florida. So that's at stake too. And not only are you ruining yourself, your reputation, your family, but today, because of the fentanyl, you run the risk one time. You can die. No thanks.
Yeah. Well, God bless you. This is your time. And speaking of school, I saw that you went to Kingsborough. I'm a Kingsborough graduate, which I love. Yeah, I love Kingsborough. I went back when I was 28 years, going back to community college. A lot of students and parents frown upon community college. I love it. What's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on?
No, I got to tell you, for me, Kingsborough saved my life because I was going to Miami. That was the first school I got into. University of Miami down in Coral Gables. They had just won the national championship. Bernie Kosar, who's a friend of mine to this day, was the quarterback, and it was the place to be, you know. And I lasted 3 months. I partied every day, never went to class, and came home broken. And all the dreams of going to medical school, all that was gone. And then I went to Brooklyn College, and nothing improved. And it wasn't until my mom got me into Kingsborough Community College. They had something called the New Start program back then, New Start. They actually erased all my failures from Miami and Brooklyn College and gave me a brand new start. I took it seriously, even though it's on the bay and by the ocean. I met my wife, Danielle, there. And I took it seriously, got my associate's degree, and eventually graduated from Baruch College a few years later. So I did 4 schools over 7 years, not because I love the college experience, but because I was just a partier. I was a rough kid. But Kingsborough gave me the opportunity to eventually graduate college, and community college could be a great, listen, community college, I got news for you. There are kids who never go to college at all. I was growing up at Apex, at all these training schools. Those are great schools too. Some kids are not cut out to go to school, but they've got great hands. You could be a mechanic. You can install boilers. Go to trade school. Why not? Not everybody needs to go to college, pile up debt, and end up taking Polish African-American studies and making $32,000 a year. So whether it's a community college to kind of get you back going like it did for me, or a trade school, I think they all work. There's nothing embarrassing about going to school, any place, anytime, anywhere.
Thank you so much. Let's talk about your acting career. You were telling me about a couple of films you have coming up. You're going to be in the series of Gravesend. So tell us about that.
Yeah, this is new. This just started when I was 54 years old. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not Bradley Cooper by any stretch, or Brad Pitt, but listen, I understand that I do give these folks the ability to cross-promote their shows and movies. I get it. I've got the #1 radio show, so these guys get a chance to come on, and that's invaluable. It's, you can't pay for that type of advertising. So I do provide that, but for whatever it's worth, they seem to like me. And I don't have big roles just yet, but I've got nice roles. I play a guy named Dave Busco in Gravesend, which is a mafia soldier. I'm out of the Miami crew. Me and Andrew Dice Clay did a bunch of scenes together. In real life, he got Bell's palsy, so he's off the script now. I'm working with the Miami crew, but now I'm working up against Chaz Palminteri. He's become my nemesis. He's on Long Island. So that's a great role. I shoot again June 23rd. I went out to Los Angeles, and Danny A., who's a big-time writer, actor, director, he made the movie, the real-life movie about the bar Gemini Lounge, which back in the 70s in Brooklyn was run by the Gambinos, Roy DeMeo, and they actually chopped up mafia bodies on the 2nd floor. It's a hugely famous story here in New York, and I shot that movie in Los Angeles. Had a pretty nice size role back in April, and I've got 2 more movies. One is a British crime drama, which if the movie does well, they're going to turn into a weekly television show. And one is a movie called Tank Job about the near 1963 stock market crash in Bayonne, New Jersey. And I've got 2 pretty good sized roles in that too. So not a star yet, not a leading man, nothing major. But at 54 years old, over a 6-month period, to get a big time TV series and 3 movie roles, I think it's pretty good.
Thank you so much. God bless you. What's the last thing you'd like to say to your fellow citizens of New York City?
Well, for my citizens of New York City, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to get better anytime soon. It may get worse before it gets better. Look, I still go to the city every day. I work on 49th Street and 3rd Avenue in Midtown, so I haven't escaped the city. I don't live there anymore. I live here in Queens in a beautiful area, but I still go to Manhattan every single day. I still love the city. I still eat in the city, lunch and dinner. But my fear is that it's going to get worse before it gets better. And I understand why people are leaving. You go down to Florida. There's no state tax. The weather is great. It's not filthy and dirty. I think people still are very quick to say, we're the greatest city. We're New York. And I hate to say this. It breaks my heart, but we're not. We're not the greatest city. We've got way too many issues. We have the potential to be the greatest city. We should be the greatest city. We were the greatest city for a long time, but I don't think right now we're the greatest city. So until we get back to that, I understand why people are leaving. And Eric Adams and the new governor, hopefully it's not Kathy Hochul, hopefully it's Andrew Giuliani or Lee Zeldin or Rob Astorino or Harry Wilson, whoever it is on the Republican side. Hopefully they can fix the crime problem, fix the homeless problem, fix the dirt problem and filth, and make that city great again. But right now, it ain't great.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sid. You're amazing. Please listen to him. Bernie and Sid in the morning, 77 WABC. Is that AM radio?
That is. I mean, believe it or not, with days where every big show was on AM and FM and Sirius XM satellite and all that, we're a little rinky-dinky AM radio show that is kicking ass all over New York City. So for folks that say AM radio is finished, the demise of AM radio, I would advise them, take a look at Bernie and Sid.
Thank you so much.
You got it.
This episode is sponsored by Preferred Health Magazine.
Hi, I'm Angelina Cappiello, publisher and editor-in-chief of Preferred Health Magazine. PHM hosts interviews with today's top physicians, experts in the healthcare industry, and some of today's most beloved celebrities. So head on over to www.preferredhealthmagazine.com today to receive your free digital subscription. And be sure to catch me on our new podcast, Talking Points with Preferred Health Magazine, streaming now on Spotify and YouTube.
Thank you for tuning in to Making a Difference. I'm your host, Melissa Billy Clark. If you'd like to learn more about our show, please visit our website at melissabillyclarkshow.com. If you'd like to sponsor or be a guest, email melissa@melissaclarkshow.com. Let's make a difference together.